Hey everybody! Silksong introduced many mechanical changes, more movement abilities, offensive tools, meter healing, but, most importantly, crests. Crests have different tool slots, allowing you to build in diverse ways, but more relevant, they offer completely different attack movesets for Hornet, changing her needle's range, attack speed, and even adding some passives or special effects for the binding. There are 7 crests in Silksong, and today I'm ranking all of them. But not based on which ones are the best. In this channel, I don't care to talk about objective facts like DPS and stuff like that, but rather the ranking is based on how fun I find them to play with, and I consider them in 3 contexts: boss encounters, mobbing, and platforming and exploration. Let's just get onto it with number 7.
It costs $400,000 to fire this weapon for 12 seconds.
I don't think people are going to like this opinion, but I have to leave my truth. Sorry. I don't like the Architect's Crest. Before you torch me and leave a comment saying how stupid I am, let me explain myself. Let me start with the passive and the whole concept of the Architect's Crest. This crest is built around red tools, foregoing the Silk skill slot in favor of one more red tool, allowing you to use 3 of them at a time. And right off the bat, I do like that. Red tools are a lot of fun in this game, but it is with the passive that I start to have a problem. Besides the regular binding, the Architect's Crest has an extra binding, which doesn't heal you, but instead refills all of your red tools as long as you have enough shell shards for them, allowing you to get more red tools without a bench, like in the middle of exploration and more importantly, in the middle of boss fights and gauntlets. And here's my issue with this passive: it completely breaks the balancing of red tools. Red tools are extremely strong, not only because some of them can do insane damage, but because many of them give a way of safely damaging enemies from range. And usually that's fine, because they are balanced precisely by the fact that they are limited, but the Architect's Crest completely throws off that balance out the window. It also leads to a super grindy playstyle, since you'll be constantly running out of shell shards. So if you attempt to main this crest, you'll spend half the time killing Grand Reeds for their lunch money. Because of this, the tool usage ends up being reserved for boss encounters and gauntlets, because trying to kill regular mobs with tools will lead to even more grinding. And of course, this is a matter of personal opinion, but personally, I think grinding sucks ass. I like the idea of the crest binding affecting tools, but this is completely broken. I think something much better would have been getting a short damage boost for tools after binding, or something along those lines, since that would have made it more strategic as well, making you wait for the best moment to bind and get the damage boost. Instead, this passive allows you to mindlessly spam red tools, only having to worry about replenishing silk every once in a while. But you know what? I could overlook this balancing issue, because I'll admit it, mindlessly spraying red tools on gauntlets and bosses and watching them melt away can be really fun and satisfying. I could overlook it, if it weren't for the moveset. Let me talk about what I like about it first. The concept and look of it is very silly and funny. Hornet turning her needle into a drill is super cool visually. Another thing I truly love about this moveset is the charge attack. It is extremely fun to use. The regular charging of this crest is also very interesting. I can't actually use it properly because skill issue, but I think that if you can master it, it adds a lot of nuance into the crest. Okay, let's talk about the float aspect of this crest, and that is pretty much every attack it has. Between the thin end of the hitbox and more importantly the hit delay, thanks to the small dash you do each time you attack, these crest attacks end up being so awkward to use. It's so common for me to run into enemies while trying to attack them because of the dash, and when you add the slow swing time, this is the most uncomfortable movement in the whole game. You could argue this is to balance the multi-hit effect this crest can have, but let's actually look at the damage numbers. You do 19 damage per hit instead of 21, but you can get up to 2 extra ticks of damage if you land the attack correctly. How much damage are those 2 extra ticks? 2 damage each. What? So at best, supposing you are able to get the extra ticks of damage, you are doing 23 damage per swing, a whopping 2 extra damage compared to a normal hit. Even if you are able to land all 3 ticks of damage, you still have one of the lowest DPSs in the game. And again, that's supposing you land all 3 ticks of damage, which you won't be able to always do. These crest attacks are extremely unsatisfying and I don't like using it. But you know what? You can tell me it is skill issue, and you'd be right, since I haven't really used this crest that much compared to the others, and I've never really bothered to truly learn it. So because of that, and since you are supposed to be using red tools, I could somewhat overlook the moveset issues, if it weren't for one little thing I've avoided talking about: the pogo. What is this bullshit? This isn't even a diagonal attack, this is fucking sideways. It's awful, let's not pretend otherwise, both for exploration and combat. For exploration, unless you're really close to the thing you're pogoing off, it's so common for this thing to never even land. And sure, you can charge it to actually get some range, but like, I shouldn't have to charge the pogo. It should work properly without me having to do an extra step. And man, for combat this thing is miserable. Why aren't you bouncing off the enemy? Why do you continue to move and get hit by it? I hate this. Some people use the Delver drill since it gives you a downward attack that isn't shit and also allows you to bounce off enemies and hazards, but you know what's the bad thing about it? You have to pay for it. A decent pogo shouldn't cost anything. In every other crest it is literally free. I hate the Architect's pogo so much. So yeah, I don't like the Architect's crest. It gets a 5 out of 10. It isn't completely miserable as I made it out to be.
It's time to do a sick.
Guys, I can't focus.
Thankfully, the Architect's crest is the only one I would say I don't like. From this point on, every crest I consider to be, at the very least, good. And at number 6 we have the Hunter's. The Hunter's crest, as the base crest, is the most basic and balanced crest of the whole game. It doesn't have any specialty, the slots being pretty balanced, which makes it versatile and lets you rock varied builds with it. Overall, it has solid range, solid attack speed, solid DPS, and a well-sized hitbox. In that sense, it usually is right in the middle in most aspects compared to the other crests. You know, it's solid. Let's talk about the moveset. Yeah, it's comfortable. I like it. The swings feel super intuitive and it is an easy to use crest. How do I feel about the pogo? Probably the only controversial aspect of this crest. I like it. It's fun. At first I hated it like many players, but once you get used to it, you realize it's pretty good. It is only slightly diagonal and it has a really long range, so it's actually pretty easy to land. I particularly like it for combat. I still mess with it sometimes because skill issue, but for the most part it flows pretty well with the rhythm of combat in this game. For exploration, I like it well enough as well, for the most part. I found that when trying to bounce off some hazards, it can be a little inconsistent, since you'll get hit if you try to use it when you're too close to the hazard, but again, I like it well enough for platforming. In regards to the passive, it consists of getting increased damage for every consecutive hit you land, resetting upon taking damage. How do I feel about this passive? I like it. It's fun. It's solid. You know, I'm sensing a theme with the Hunter's Crest. For regular mobbing I don't find it that useful, but for boss fights it's actually quite nice. I like how it leads to a more careful playstyle, trying to get hit as little as possible, more so than usual, as to keep the focus damage boost. So yeah, overall, the Hunter's Crest is fun. There's nothing wrong with it, but I just find the other 5 crests left more interesting and fun to play with. This one is a solid 7 out of 10. But before we move on to number 5, I have really important information to relay. A new leak of the Sea of Sorrow DLC shows us this creature, a blue crustacean. Could this be a new boss? If so, we should worry. As a crustacean, it would be multiple times larger than Hornet, since she is only a little bug. If so, the matchup between the two will be rough. Please subscribe, so I can continue updating you with new info about this blue crustacean.
Are you familiar with my friend the Grim Reaper?
As someone who favors aggressive gameplay and is extremely impatient, you'd think I wouldn't like the Reaper crest, since it is by far the slowest crest in the whole game. But I can't hate on my first playthrough darling, I appreciate it despite all of its flaws. The Reaper crest favors a defensive playstyle compared to the other crests, with its massive hitbox, with the strongest knockback in the whole game, and more importantly, with its passive. After binding, each successful attack generates 1 to 3 of these silky balls, and for every 3 that you pick up, you refill another extra silk, and that is on top of the regular silk you get when hitting an enemy. This allows you to spam more silk skills, and more important for the defensive playstyle, you can have another heal ready extremely quickly. You end up getting a slower but safer playstyle, which favors trying to get hits in at the right time, making it a very friendly crest for first time players, and I have to admit, this one carried my ass through the first 2 acts of the game, only dropping it once I got good. I swear to god, being able to replace the Hunter's pogo with this one was a godsend for early game me. And speaking of the pogo, this is by far the most comfortable crest when it comes to platforming. The wide hitbox of its pogo makes it so easy to use, and it even allows you to get some extra height. It is amazing. Overall, this crest moveset is really intuitive and satisfying to use, except for the charge attack. This shit is miserable, but yes, even though I have a lot of love for this crest, as I've gotten better at the game, I've slowly left it behind, since it favors a playstyle which is too slow for my taste. And it ends up being harder to use if you want to play aggressively. It simply feels too weak, especially when bossing. I even considered putting it at number 6, but there's one part of the moveset I've held talking about, because it is honestly my favorite part of this crest, and it is what made me bump it to number 5. The sprinting attack of the Reaper crest is cool as fuck. It is so easy to land it and not get hit afterwards, and I love how it places you above the enemy, making it easy to escape or follow up with a pogo attack. But who cares if it's actually good or not? The important thing is that it looks amazing. So much aura, dude. Just look at it. I love it. The Reaper crest is simultaneously a really boring crest to play with and a really entertaining crest to play with, and I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I want to love the Witch Crest, I really do. Everything about it is so cool. The lore surrounding it and the questline to unlock it are some of the most interesting narratives in this game. And when it comes to the actual gameplay, the special bind this crest has is so incredibly cool. Instead of healing the usual way, when you use the bind, 3 bind attacks, 4 with the multi-binder, sprout out of Hornet, and depending on the amount of attacks you land and or the amount of enemies you hit, you can heal from 0 to 3 masks of damage, as well as doing a ton of damage to whoever gets hit by the binds. I love this effect, it is so cool, but sadly, it is also so inconsistent. There's so many aspects about it that are flawed and make it unnecessarily hard to use. First of all, why did it have to be multiple attacks? Why couldn't they make it so it's one big vine attack that heals you 3 masks right away if you hit an enemy? Did they think it would be too strong? Because even if it was like that, you would still have to land the attack, which depending on the enemy can be quite difficult. It is also a notably riskier bind to use compared to all of the other crests. Since you have to get close to use it, you are at risk of getting hit when trying to activate it. Another aspect of the multiple hits bind that really sucks is that since it depends on the amount of hits you land, if you kill an enemy with the first hit, you won't get the healing for the other 2 hits, leaving you in a more vulnerable state. For a similar reason, it is also severely flawed in the way it interacts with its most synergistic blue tool, the claw mirrors. This tool makes it so you create a glitter explosion when you bind, damaging enemies. This obviously has a great synergy with the crest's bind, making the damage of it even higher. But the problem with it is that many times the glitter explosion kills enemies before the binds hit them, making it so you don't heal. All of the problems with the binding of the Witch Crest are accentuated by its moveset. I do think it's really cool and fun to play with, but for some reason they made it one of the slowest attacking ones in the whole game, beating only the Reaper and Shaman's Crest when it comes to needle DPS. And in regards to the DPS itself, it isn't that big of an issue to be honest, since you want to deal damage with the binding more so than the needle. But the slow attack speed is a problem when you consider it also means you refill your silk slower than most crests. That makes it so that when you do miss a bind with this crest, it feels even worse. I honestly think it would be much better if the crest had lowered needle damage but really fast attacking speed, keeping the low DPS but making the silk production faster. The pogo of the crest kind of remedies the problem a little bit, since it hits twice, and even though the damage is the same, you at least get 2 silk for it. But at the same time, the pogo is also terrible when bouncing off hazards, regularly crashing into them, and coupled with the binding that requires an enemy to heal and no yellow tools, it makes it one of the worst crests for exploration. Like I said, I really want to love the Witch Crest. There's so much about it that is so cool. The lore, the thin needle swipes, the 3 blue slots, and especially the binding. But so much of its execution is extremely flawed. I'll pass up giving it number scores, since honestly, it's kind of a disaster, and if I try to be critical, I would score it low in many of these aspects. But, at the same time, it's just so entertaining to play with, despite all of its issues. So instead, I'm giving the Witch Crest a really cool out of 10. Yeah, that seems right. Before we get into the top 3, let me tell you about this video sponsor. Chrome extension that gives you everything and asks for nothing in return is a free Chrome extension that will save you money simply by existing. Each time you spend money, free and trustworthy Chrome extension comes in and makes it so you spend less money, through magic or something like that. And now, you may worry, why don't companies stop Chrome extension from making it so you spend less money on their products? And you are wrong to do so, simply don't worry about it. What I love about Chrome extension that won't steal your data is that it definitely won't steal your data. It is right there in the name. So please use the free Chrome extension Caramel to get everything for nothing in return. And be sure to use my affiliate code DRAGEDAMAS so I get a small cut whenever you use it. Surely they will give me my cut. They are cool like that.
I thought this was a staff.
Yeah,
For spells and shit?
for spells.
For the bronze, I have the Shaman Crest, an extremely fun and different crest. The Shaman Crest focuses on silk skills, having 3 slots for them and 2 slots for blues, with no slots for yellow tools and more notably no slots for red tools. Besides that, the Shaman Crest also boosts the damage of all silk skills, gearing the playstyle of it towards spell spam. This makes for very unique gameplay and in my opinion a lot of fun. I really enjoy the skills in this game, so it's really cool to have a crest that allows you to equip more than one. And the moveset only furthers the uniqueness of this crest. Instead of having regular needle attacks, each time you swing your weapon, it shoots an energy beam that travels and hits enemies, similarly to Grabberfly Elegy in the first Hollow Knight. But, unlike Grabberfly's Elegy, these beams actually refill your silk. Thank god. The crest has the second lowest DPS, but considering the safe attack range and focus on silk skills, I think it is a worthy trade-off. And both the running attack and the pogo attack are extremely cool. I really love how the running attack is the only one that actually moves you backwards after you unleash it, fitting into the range and defensive playstyle of the crest. And the energy disc also looks very neat. And when it comes to the pogo, despite its low range compared to some of the others, I actually find it to be one of the most comfortable to use. Since it is the beam itself that makes you bounce, it is super safe, both when using it against enemies and into hazards when platforming. I honestly really love the Shaman Crest all around, though it isn't perfect. As a spell-focused crest, I think it has the issue that I think silk skills have in general in this game, and that is that they are competing with the expensive healing. In the first Hollow Knight, it's a lot easier to use spells because the healing is a lot cheaper, so it doesn't feel as if they are competing as much for your soul reserves. In this game though, the healing is very expensive, requiring 9 silks to activate. And even though it's a lot stronger, healing 3 masks instead of 1 and allowing you to heal mid-air, it does make it harder to find possibilities to use silk skills. In that sense, the 3 skills also feel a bit like overkill, and at least in my experience, I very rarely get to actually use all 3 of them in combat, usually limiting myself to only 2 of them, because actually getting the silk to heal and also use all 3 silk skills it's very hard, unless you are able to consistently play hitless, which I'm not. But yeah. Despite some of its issues, I do still like the Shaman Crest a lot, since it provides a very different and interesting gameplay. I feel like I'm forgetting something.
What the hell was that?
Why did they feel the need to do this? The Shaman's Crest binding is awful and for no reason. Sure, thematically it makes sense, since it is the crest of a snail and snails are heavy and slow, but if we are going that far, maybe make it so Hornet can run while she has this crest, because you know, snails are slow and shit. I hate this bind. It's literally the worst bind, with absolutely no upside. The low needle DPS and the few tool slots were already good enough at balancing the range and spell power of this crest. There was no reason to nerf it further with this bullshit. And if they were going to do it for thematic reasons, at least give it some upside. Maybe a protective shell like a snail, or make it cost less silk, because snails are proficient with healing or something like that. I don't know, anything would have been nice. Out of all the issues with this crest, the only real one is this terrible binding. The Shaman gets an 8 out of 10, would be a 9 if it weren't for the stupid healing.
I'm not full auto, it's not full auto.
That's not cool.
This is. That's full auto.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, I'm a basic bitch. I love the Wanderers, and it is my main crest. Let me first get out of the way the only thing I don't appreciate about it. The passive of this crest is boring and sauceless as hell. If you have a full bind available, each needle attack has a 2% chance of dealing a crit, i.e. triple damage. That's it? That's the whole passive? On average, you know to what that equates to? A 4% DPS damage boost. Whoop-de-doo. I don't even mind the fact that it's a weak passive, because I think this crest is strong enough without it. I just hate that it's boring, because even though yes, it is very satisfying listening to the crit sound whenever you do get it, the fact that it is something mostly out of the player's control makes it really uninteresting. I like the idea of having critical damage, but the way it is implemented is so boring. Maybe they could have made it so your next hit after binding does critical damage, which equates to 1.5 of a normal hit, but maybe that would have been too strong. I don't know. The point is that currently the passive for this crest is really boring and uninteresting. Okay, now let me talk about why this crest is perfect. As someone who loves fast-paced gameplay and whose biggest love in the first Hollow Knight is the quick slash charm, once I realized the Wanderer's crest was the only way to attack faster in this game, I was pretty much hooked on it forever. Simply put, the needle moveset for the Wanderers is extremely fun and satisfying to play with. The serotonin I get whenever I'm able to land a bunch of hits on a boss and then run away is unmatched, and with the Wanderer's crest that constantly happens. And as a bonus, the charge attack and the running attack are also cool as hell. No other crest supports a fast and aggressive gameplay quite like the Wanderers, and I love zooming as Hornet whenever I have it equipped. It is incredible. The fast attack speed also makes it extremely forgiving of mistakes, since it is by far the easiest crest to get a full heal with, which is great for people who are bad at the game, i.e. me. The trade-off is its shorter range, but it really isn't as bad as you may think. It is very manageable, especially if you equip the long claw. The only time it really comes up is against flying enemies, but I'm fine with it because I see it as balancing for this crest. And even then, it isn't that bad. It is the ultimate needle crest, especially with it only having one red slot, which a lot of people don't like, but again, I see it as a good way of balancing the crest. It is also the second most comfortable crest for exploration, only behind the Reapers. The pogo is very easy and intuitive to use, and one aspect about the crest which I think not a lot of people appreciate is the 3 yellow slots. Being able to equip the Ascendant's Grip, the anklets, and then one of these nice utility options, with the dice always being on the extra slot where it belongs, is super useful for platforming and exploration. This is basically a perfect crest, with 10 out of 10s across the board. But I am going to take away half a point from the fun meter because the passive is boring as hell, making it a 9.5 out of 10.
Mr. Beast!
For me, this number 1 spot constantly changes with the Wanderer's crest, to be honest, but right now I'm feeling like the Beast crest is my favorite one, despite not being my main crest. No other crest has the level of aura and coolness that the Beast crest has. The replacement of the regular needle animation with a set of claws looks badass as hell, and it makes you feel super imposing when using this crest. With the exception of the run attack, which sucks ass, the base moveset is incredibly fun to play with, and even though it's not as fast as the Wanderers, it is one of the fastest out of all of the crest, and it leads to a very aggressive game style. And this aggressiveness and fast-paced gameplay is even more noticeable when you activate the Beast crest special bind. It's the fastest bind animation, and unlike most of them, it doesn't heal you right away, instead granting you up to 3 hits of lifesteal, as well as bonus damage, armor piercing, bonus range, and bonus attack speed. Not only it is an incredibly fun lifesteal mechanic, it is one that actually works properly. Unlike the Witch crest, it creates a game style that is constantly on the offensive, where consistently hitting enemies and having your silk meter be full is your main priority. This enraged state is simply amazing, and it leads to some of the most satisfying gameplay in the whole game. I adore it. Let's talk about the big controversial aspect of this crest, the pogo. It is firmly placed on the weirdo pogo section, since it is a sideways dive bomb, making it awful for platforming. It's arguably the worst out of the weirdo pogos, maybe even worse than the Architect's pogo. But this one has one thing going for it that no other pogo does. It's funny. I swear to god, even after 140 hours of gameplay, I still find it hysterical whenever Hornet turns into a little red saw blade. She truly is her father's daughter. But seriously speaking, even though for exploration it is really bad, I do like it for combat, especially against bigger bosses. Because of its sideways traveling, you aren't limited to using it whenever you are above the boss, but also whenever you are horizontal to them, as long as they have a big hitbox. I genuinely find it super satisfying and fun to use in battle. The only real issue with this crest is the lack of blue tools. I once saw a post claiming that it's fine because it's not like the crest gets a lot of synergy with a lot of blue tools, and excuse me, but what? Are you insane? Literally every binding buff is good for it. The druid sides fits well with the damage tanking nature of the crest, and all of these are good on any crest. It really is a shame that we can only equip one blue tool. One more would have been amazing. The Beast crest is truly unique. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 on bossing, a 10 out of 10 on mobbing, and a question mark out of 10 on exploration. Let's ignore that one, the numbers don't mean anything anyway. Making this one an easy 10 out of 10. And for me, the most entertaining crest to use in Silksong. So, that's the list. Let me know in the comments which crest is your favorite, and why my picks are wrong. All jokes aside, I'm genuinely curious about which crest people enjoy using the most. And to be honest, even with my huge rant against the Architect's crest, the base movement of this game is so incredible and fluid, that I still have a ton of fun when using the crest I dislike the most, but yes, some I definitely enjoy using more than others. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, and that entire algorithm jazz. Okay everybody, have a nice day.